This is the 6th day of this September 2025 7-day sesshin. And today we'll look at a koan from the Mumonkan, case 47, Tosotsu's 3 barriers. The Mumonkan is a collection of koans that was assembled by the 13th century Chinese master Mumonkan. And in English, the collection is often translated as the gateless barrier or the gateless gate. We can think of a gate as a variation of a wall or a fence, something that we got into yesterday when reading from Tongan Roshi's Teishos. But what kind of gate is gateless? What kind of wall is wallless? How could that be? It's there, but it's not there. What is not. What is not is. I'm going to start off reading through the case, commentary, and verse, and then we'll get into some background material. So first, the case. Tosotsu sets up 3 barriers to test his monks. To inquire after the truth, this is the first barrier. To inquire after the truth, groping your way through the underbrush, is for the purpose of seeing into your self-nature. At this moment, where is your nature? And now the second barrier, also a question. When you realize your nature, you are free from life, free from death. When the light of your eyes is falling, when the light of your eyes is failing, how can you be free from life and death? And then the third, when you are free from life and death, you know where you will go. When the 4 elements separate, where are you off to? And then Mumon's commentary. If you can rightly give the 3 turning words here, you will be master wherever you may be and live up to the Dharma in all situations. If, however, you have not resolved the matter yet, I warn you, the food you bolt down won't sustain you. Chew it well, and you won't be hungry. And then the verse. This one instant, as it is the whole of eternity. The whole of eternity is at the same time, this one instant. If you see into this fact, the one who is seeing has been seen into. Now, not a lot is known about Tosotsu, but let me say from the start that the name Tosotsu is the Japanese translation of his Chinese name, Do Shuai Kangyu. So let's just shift to using the actual name he went by, Kangyu for short. And in looking at our go-to source on the Chinese masters, which is Andy Ferguson's book, Zen's Chinese Heritage, there are a few brief stories and exchanges involving Kangyu. The first one takes place prior to him becoming a master. Kangyu was the head monk at Daowu Monastery, and on one occasion he led a group of monks on a journey to visit Zen master Yungaiji. After only a few sentences of conversation, Master Ji knew that Kangyu possessed special ability. Ji laughed and said to Kangyu, I observe that your breath is unusual. Why is it that when you speak, your breath is like that of a drunkard? Kangyu's face became flushed, and he broke out in a sweat, and he said, I hope the master won't spare your compassion. I hope the master won't spare your compassion. In an indirect way, Kangyu is telling Master Ji, please be kind to me. I hope you'll treat me with compassion. And by the way, although Ji told him that his breath reeks of alcohol, we can't take that to mean that he was actually drinking and intoxicated. Ji saw potential in Kangyu. So more than likely, what he was up to is testing Kangyu to see how he responds to such an allegation. Getting intoxicated certainly would not have been appropriate behavior for a monk, let alone the head monk. And we know that the monastic rules included abstaining from alcohol. But it seems that Kangyu didn't even get defensive. He didn't challenge Ji's assertion. He just said, please, Master, I ask for your compassion. But of course, Then again, we don't really know how he said it. We don't know the backstory. Can't really read into the lines too much. We can only speculate that he was being genuinely humble and deferential to Ji. And yet, Ji continued to talk to Kong Yu by goading him. And Kong Yu was flustered by this and didn't understand. So he asked to have a private interview with Ji. In the abbot's room, Master Ji asked Kong Yu, "Have you ever seen Zen Master Fa Hang Di Yu?" Kong Yu said, "I've read the record of his talks. I understood it all, so I don't want to see him." Now that sounds kind of brazen. I already understand everything that he said. So why should I bother? So Kong Yu, in this one-on-one interview in the abbot's room, is now showing confidence. He's really sticking his neck out. It's a different side of him from the earlier exchange. Ji then said, "Have you seen Zen Master Dong Shan Wen He?" In other words, "Okay, is that so? How about this other master? Have you seen him?" To which Kong Yu said, "Guanxi's disciples don't have any brains. If you put on a cotton garment that smells like piss, what good is it?" This Master Dong Shan Wen He that Ji asks Kong Yu about is a disciple of Master Guanxi. And Master Guanxi was the disciple of Linji, the very founder of the Linji school, Rinzai, as it's called in Japan. And here we have Kong Yu proclaiming that Wen He, along with all the other disciples of Guanxi, they don't have any brains. They stink like a cotton t-shirt soaked in urine. Sounds like a total insult. But it's hard to say. We can't take it at face value. Could have been a compliment. Using paradoxical language and indirection was a common way of communicating in these dialogues at the time, along with physical gestures. Slaps and strikes, blows. And this kind of language, when used by the master, was a way of challenging the student to go beyond logic, also to go beyond norms and conventions. But in this case, it's Kong Yu, the student, and the head monk, who's making these irreverent remarks. The exchange goes on. In response to Kong Yu's retort, Ji said, "You should go and practice at that place that smells like piss." So if that's what you think, if that's what you say, that's where you belong. Go see it for yourself. For Kong Yu, going to the place he says smells like piss might be just the medicine he needs for what appears to be stubborn pride. And following Ji's instructions, Kong Yu did go and practice with Zen Master Wen He, which says a lot because, once again, he apparently didn't get defensive or show resistance. So he goes to train with this master. And while there, he came to deeply realize his teaching. And later on, Kong Yu returns to go see Master Ji. And Ji said, "Now that you've seen Guanxi's disciples, what about the great matter?" To which Kong Yu said, "Had it not been for your instruction, it would have slipped past me my entire life." And Kong Yu then bowed in gratitude. So, seeing things more clearly now, he was filled with immense gratitude. Not a hint of pride. I'm not going to cover all of the dialogues in Andy Ferguson's book, but there's one more that I want to share, and that is from after Kong Yu became a master. Master Kong Yu addressed the monks, saying, "First comes the new spring, and then it's the beginning of summer. The 4 seasons pass like an arrow. The sun and moon move like a shuttle. Before you know it, a red-faced babe has turned into an old white hare." You must truly exert yourself and use extraordinary effort. Cultivate your own field, and don't steal someone else's seedlings. Applying yourself in this way, your cultivation will certainly result in finally seeing the white ox on Snow Mountain. Spring transitions into summer, summer into fall, fall into winter, and then back to spring. The sun rises, and then it sets, and then it rises again. Trees start out as tiny little shoots. Even before they become a little shoot, they're a seed. And with the right nourishment and the right conditions, the tree grows. And eventually, it dies. And when it dies, it enriches the very soil that will bring forth new life, a new tree. We can say that all of life is just transition, one transition after another. Some take the form of milestones in our life. Like when you're a kid and you turn 10, your first double digit. Turning 18 is another big occasion. Becoming an independent adult. Getting a driver's license. Getting married. Getting divorced. Having a baby. Starting a new job. Moving to a new place. Losing a parent. The death of a parent or another loved one. It's all transitions. And it happens on a micro level as well. Just in turning a doorknob, moving from one room into another, walking through a doorway, swiveling around on your seat at the end of the round and standing up. Clicking on the breakout room icon on Zoom. And of course, there's falling asleep and then waking up, taking an inhalation. And there's that little gap, that little transition in between that leads to the exhalation. This is This is all part of the cycle of birth and death. Beginnings and endings are constant. They're not singular events, and they're not finalities. The wheel turns constantly. But through our ordinary way of being in the world, where we see ourselves as kind of a fixed entity, a fixed self, and the people around us as fixed others, we can't really perceive this turning that is happening moment by moment. Every single moment is actually a birth and a death. So in these past 6 days of Sesshin, moving into, or we are already into the 7th day. Tonight will be the 7th night, the last night. Over the course of that time, incredible transformation has taken place for each and every one of us. There's no question about that. And just because you're not aware of it, or just because there are thoughts that give you the impression that you're stuck, that you're not in motion, that doesn't mean it's not so. The greatest thing about being a Zen teacher is you get to see that transformation. You get to witness it. Cultivate your own field. Forget about thoughts, forget about time, forget about other people. Forget about good and bad, right and wrong. Forget all of that. Keep returning to the source. This one mu. Who? So let's look at the case now in which Master Kong Yu tests his monks with 3 barriers that take the form of 3 questions. Sort of like 3 koans in one, but not exactly at the same time, because there does appear to be a progression to them, with each barrier building on the other. So again, the first, to inquire after the truth, groping your way through the underbrush, is for the purpose of seeing into your self-nature. At this moment, where is your nature? Groping through the underbrush, fumbling around in the dark, trying to make your way through a tangle of thoughts and emotional states. All the ideas and narratives that we cling to. And most of all, the idea that there's a me that's separate from you. And at times, it can feel like you're bushwhacking, like you've got to knock down the underbrush. Not just wend your way through it, but knock it down. All these bushes and thick vegetation, taking a machete to it. Feels like you're trying to create a path for yourself to get to some destination. But where are you trying to get to? That there's a place, some other place that you need to get to is a thought. That the underbrush is in your way, also a thought. Thoughts are only a barrier when we cling to them. They have no substance. There's no physicality to them. You can't see, touch, or grab them. How can they be a barrier? The good news, though, is even if you do get lost in the underbrush, lost in the weeds, there's always a direct way out. There's always a direct way out. This moment, where is your nature? On to the second barrier. When you realize your nature, you are free from life, free from death. When the light of your eyes is failing, how can you be free from life and death? In doing this practice, we are confronting our own impermanence, sickness, aging, disability, and ultimately the death of our body, physical death. That's one sense of it. The body that we're in right now, sooner or later, will cease to be. It will stop working. The heart will stop. The lungs won't take in air anymore. This is the one thing that is certain. As Roshi likes to say, the only thing that is uncertain is the timing of our death. Great is the matter of birth and death. But again, there's also the moment by moment living and dying that's happening nonstop. The brain's prefrontal cortex wants us to believe that death is a singular event, something far off in the future. And birth is also a singular event, something that had happened on a certain date decades ago. But really, birth and death are concepts. Ideas about there being a beginning and an end. Roshi Kapleau used to say, all there is life. When we get into comparing life and death, we're seeing it as a duality. Compartmentalizing a process that cannot be separated, cannot be teased apart. So when the light of your eyes is failing, how can you be free? And now the third barrier. When you are free from life and death, you know where you will go. When the four elements separate, where are you off to? The four elements are earth, earth, water, fire, and air. Earth, water, fire, and air. We can understand them as the building blocks of life. And the building blocks of this moment, right now. What happens to them when we die? When we die, where do we go? Who is this person that lives and dies? When the four elements separate, where are you off to? Then the commentary. If you can rightly give the three turning words here, you will be master wherever you may be and live up to the Dharma in all situations. If, however, you have not resolved the matter yet, I warn you, the food you bolt down won't sustain you. Chew it well, and you won't be hungry. Don't bolt it down. If you're in a hurry to get somewhere or get something, you'll never be satisfied. That's grasping. Kind of like Pac-Man, constantly trying to gobble up dots. We can spend much of our life gobbling up stuff, can't we? Gobbling up knowledge, ideas, information, news, the 24/7 news cycle, media, material possessions. Clothes, cars, shiny objects. We also gobble up experiences. So we can say, I did that, or I was there. And post about it on Instagram. We also can gobble up status markers like degrees and titles. Constantly trying to get ahead and elevate your rank. Nom, 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 nom. There's also gobbling up time. We do that by tracking, calculating it. In sesshin, we might be counting the rounds of sitting, counting the days, the hours in a day, how much time is left. Trying to spend our time wisely. Making the most of it in hope that there will be a payoff later on. Forget about later on. Forget about time. Forget about after sesshin. What about right now? What about now? This. If you don't look, you'll miss it. Don't practice as if you're on your way to getting somewhere. Chew it well, and you won't go hungry. And then the verse. This one instant, as it is the whole of eternity. The whole of eternity is at the same time this one instant. If you see into this fact, the one who is seeing has been seen into. This one instant. It's all there is. The whole of life is here. Here. And now here. There's no place you need to go. There's nothing you need to get. It's here. The gate is wide open. We'll stop here and recite the 4 vows.